right, so this is Logic Pro 10. It's a great digital audio workstation. Um, I find it extremely helpful. It's kind of like GarageBand's big brother times a billion. It's just very versatile, and I think many people use Logic, or especially if they have a Mac. I would imagine. I could be wrong about that, but you can get a really good price on it, especially if you're an educator. By the way, you can get Logic and Final Cut and Motion, and I think one more for like 300 or 400 bucks, which is insane because by themselves, without the educator discount, they're like 200 each or more. So that's really cool. So I just want to talk about the music. So I'll play the music and I'll do like a little commentary, I guess, on what I was thinking as I was like thoughts that come to me, maybe things I might have been thinking as I was making it. So this is an arrangement of Edelweiss. It's one of the tracks on my relaxation that seems to be doing okay so far. So I started with a harp. There's a half diminished chord in there. I don't know. Not that, music nerding it out there. I just wanted to add that in there. And here I put harp and strings. I just wanted to start quite gentle. The whole thing I wanted to be gentle, but I wanted to have a little intro and then put the melody in and not have too thick of a texture right at the beginning. And then here, I found that if I had too many repetitions of that melody, it got very boring to the ear really quick. So I kind of changed things up by just here having just harmonies, just the harmonies from the piece, and a few little differing texture things like the low bass there. All these muted tracks are tracks that I didn't like with the mix. Here I have two things doing the melody, the piano and the muted synth. That gives a little bit more air, and then the Celeste doing that, the harmonies there, very very block harmonies, but also kind of floaty. Feels like bubbles with Lego candy inside them that turns to liquid when you pop the bubbles, and then you can just eat them in the middle of the air floating around. So random. Ow, I hit my face. Okay, no, I didn't. And then here, I added this. I think this is like a Eastern instrument, but I like the texture of it. In addition to these, it's like a counter melody going along with this melody. And then here is the first time I introduced the secondary melody. So this choir, as I was talking about, is Contact 5. It's not the most realistic choir, but it seemed to suffice for this particular track. It felt very warm and not too overpowering, and more like almost like a synth sound instead of a real choir sound, which I kind of wanted. And then here again, I just kind of wanted that string or the harmonies, not the melody, because I found, same thing as here. I found if I did too much repetition, then it just kind of got boring pretty fast. And then before building to this section, I found that I needed something to just kind of cool everything down. So I just had this one Celeste doing these repeated harmonies, which, it just felt very floating. Like you're in a field of floating Edelweiss flowers that are very light, and you're not allergic to them. And they're just floating, but you're on the same level as them, so you're like embedded into this field. And then as you're embedded into this field, all of a sudden this warmth of the choir, I like this choir sound, it like lifts the entire scene, like slowly. You're like floating upwards clouds into this like solar heaven-like scenario. And then yeah, I like that texture. And the last thing here is the secondary melody again. With it's very simple, just violin solo and choir. And then after that, I just looped this 5-minute arrangement for an hour. Oh my goodness, that's so loud right now. But of course I've deleted that just to show you the one 5-minute piece that I looped for the relaxation channel. So yeah, that's kind of how some of the thoughts I had when I was doing this. Of course I did a lot of experimentation and like piecing things together like a jigsaw until it felt right. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that little section. Hey guys, so just want to show you my studio. I feel like it's pretty amateur right now, and I want to add a ton to it, but I'll just go through what I use for composing and I suppose this video as well. So right now for keyboard, I'm using a Yamaha, I think it's a 66 key. I can't quite remember. I don't feel like counting it. There's a SpongeBob sticker in Korean. Just a random thing. Yamaha, that's for MIDI keyboard that I use that. And for a microphone, I use a Shure SM7B, just for recording voice and sometimes singing. Not mine, thankfully. This is sometimes, I use this sometimes for a webcam. It's a Zoom Q2N. I also use this to record some relaxation, like nature videos, although I want to get a better camera for that. This is apparently the musician's camera, because it has a mic on the top as well, and it's decent, but not the best. Here's my sound box, PreSonus Audio Box i1, so I connect that for my microphone. And other instruments sometimes too. And then I have Kirk 5 monitors. So I really like them. They were pretty inexpensive and they seem to do the trick. For laptop, I use a MacBook Pro. Bought it last year. I think it's 2020. I use 16 gigs of RAM. That seems to help a lot with composing software for Logic. And 16 gigs of RAM. I wanted to get 32, but I just couldn't quite afford it yet. But then, and actually I would love to have like 128 like Jacob Collier, just so that things never glitch out or whatever. But it's been pretty good even with 16. And then I have a solid state drive, 512 gigabytes, where I store all my software, like sample instruments and whatnot. Oh, and then MacBook Pros, one thing I don't like about them very much is they only have 2 USB-C slots. One is for charging, and then I have this little dongle hickey. Is that the right word? I don't know. Dingle hopper. And that's where I connect like different USB ports. But this one only has 2 slots, which is kind of annoying, but yeah. So that's my studio. So far, too many cables, hey? But, you know. Oh, and, you know, that's part of it too, that tree, that little bush, and that tree. And, of course, the view. And Canada. Okay. I'm going to talk about some mixing and some libraries and some plugins that I use in Logic Pro. So first thing I want to talk about is libraries, the different instrument libraries. So you can download all these off the internet and then basically play a whole bunch of different instruments through Logic. Thousands. There's so many to choose from. It's amazing. On this one, I think I use like 4 different libraries. So one is Kontakt. Library just means there's a bunch of instruments within it. So you can see like this has different types of instruments. I use Kontakt. I use East-West Quantum Leaps. Actually, so when you load an instrument, it shows up here, and that's the range. The ones that are white there, that's your range. And you can see, oh, this one's muted. Okay, I'll go to a different one. So yeah, a lot of these I used East-West Quantum Leaps. I'll turn this one up a little bit. So this is a violin solo. So yeah, and these are each different East-West libraries. I subscribe to East-West Quantum Leap Composer Cloud, which is basically like a $10 a month, 45,000 instruments sample library. It's amazing. I haven't downloaded nearly all of them. This is like 1/10 of all the libraries they have. It's amazing. So yeah, that's violin, and that's East-West. The play there, that means it's an East-West library or instrument. I use this Alchemy library comes with Logic. It's a synth library, so you can make your own synths or just use the ones they have. I like this one quite a lot. Yeah. What else do we got here? So this one is also with Logic. It's a synth designer. I think they have presets in here, just like Alchemy. It's like Alchemy, just different. I like the sound of this. Actually sounds like the word purity, or what the word represents. Very pure sound. And yeah, I think those are the 4 that I used in this one. Most of these are all East-West. You'll notice too that I used on lots of these instruments, like this violin, I use a ton of reverb. This reverb plugin comes with Logic. It's called Chromaverb, and the preset here is void, so it sounds like it's in a giant space. So if I take that off, this is what it sounds like. You can hear the sound doesn't last, like a void. I did that with a lot of these instruments. I do very sort of airy-ish reverb plugins on this channel quite a bit, because I just think it sounds more relaxing. In terms of mixing, I'm such a noob. I'm almost not even wanting to say anything about it. But on this, I guess I almost mix it differently every single piece that I do, just according to how it feels. If some professional saw this, they might be cringing. But here I didn't use much equalization. Gain, I don't even want to click on this. I used a ton of gain. I don't know. Everything I put down volume. I'm not even sure why. It just made sense in the moment. And then I used gain to like bring it back up. Someone help me, please. Compressor I used to even out the sounds. Yeah, I think other than that, normally this I put up to 6, but it was so loud when I was doing this video recording. So yeah, that is my process on Logic. Next I'll talk about, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. I do, but Okay, so I'll just talk about how I make my backgrounds in the YouTube videos. I'm sure there are better ways that people do. I saw this on a guy's YouTube page about how he does his relaxation videos, and so I'm kind of copying him, but he seems much more advanced than I am. But this is what I do, and so far it's very noobish also. Many of the things I do are very noobish. I use a Windows computer, and I downloaded Steam, and then there's this app called Wallpaper Engine, which I use to make the backgrounds. You can animate things relatively easily. It's not extraordinarily in depth by any means, but it seems to do the trick to some degree. So Wallpaper Engine, so I open that up, and then there's these wallpapers. I choose a background picture from a website. Often I use this website called DeviantArt, and I ask the author's permission, and sometimes they give it, sometimes they don't. Other times I use a different website, it depends. So then I'll show you this one that I've done. It's not Edelweiss like the music I showed you, but it's the latest track I've put up. It's called Girl with the Flaxen Hair by Debussy. And So I'll show you kind of what I did with that. So this picture, it's from DeviantArt. It's a picture created by a guy named Alcium. I think that's how you say that. I think he's in Europe somewhere. Just amazing artist. I used quite a few of his pictures and he's given me permission, which I'm so grateful for. So I'll import the picture into Wallpaper Engine, and then you can basically add different animations to it. You can add them here or here. In this particular one, I added wildfire. So that's here. You can see this sort of mellow kind of fire stuff happening. Initially, I had it very dramatic, and it looked like the field was literally on fire. Maybe it kind of looks like that still. But you can see I can turn it off and on, like hiding it. The magic focus are these like little floaty things around this girl here, and they're floating inwards towards this. I kind of thought that looked cool. Embers I added, floating from the sun towards this magic ball of energy she had. And then here I added foliage sway, which I painted these. You add foliage sway and you can like paint where you want the foliage to kind of move back and forth. So I'll show you some of the assets they have in Wallpaper Engine. So they have all these different ones. So for example, there's like fog. So you can add fog into it. I'll show you what that looks like. So now there's this fog in the background moving around. You can hide it or you can just exit out. Excuse me. And when I'm done this is where the true noob comes in. So this one's done. I've added the stuff I wanted to. Pretty simple. Then this becomes your wallpaper on your computer. And then what I do is I use OBS Studio. I won't really go into detail there because I'm using it right now to film this video. And I literally screen film this background. It's almost embarrassing saying this. I screen film this background for like an hour or however long my relaxation video is. And then I export it as a movie file. And then I Google Drive it to myself and then open it on my Mac and then edit all that in Final Cut Pro on my Mac. So it's like a juggling game between my Mac and my Windows computer. As I said, I'm sure there are many people out there who are like, oh my goodness, what a noob. Why would he do all these extra steps? Why doesn't he just do X? Well, I don't know what X is. So this is what I do for now. All right. So yeah. All right. So this is the final stage. This is Final Cut Pro. And so what I do here, I take this video that I got off my Google Drive from my Windows computer, export it as a movie file, .mov. By the way, you can do that in VLC on Windows. You can change the format of that Wallpaper Engine from, I forget what kind of file, FPV or something, to MOV using VLC. There's so many acronyms. So I put that there. I put the music track underneath as an MP3 or a WAV file. I add a little transition in, and then my logo kind of looks like this. So there's the video coming in, music, logo pops in. You can adjust the size of the logo. Final Cut's really amazing in that way. And then at the end of the video, I have a little transition out so it fades out. Then when I'm done kind of editing this, which isn't bad at all, I export it and then I upload it to YouTube. So yeah, that's my process. All right. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and like if you enjoy the music on this channel. And yeah, I hope to continue creating music, and it's what I love to do. So have a great day.